All right, let's just jump right in with a huge question. What if the reality you experience every single day isn't quite as real as you think it is? I'm not talking about living in a dream, but something way more profound. What if it's a construct, a system with its own rules, its own goals that you never really signed up for, but that shapes your every move? So, to kick things off, check out this line from the movie 12 Monkeys. It just hits a little too close to home, doesn't it? This is a character in a mental institution, supposedly explaining the crazy rules of the world. It's meant to be fiction, the ramblings of a madman, but come on. Doesn't it just nail a certain uncomfortable truth about how our world works?
And that's the thing, right? It's this spooky feeling that artists and thinkers have been trying to tell us about for decades. All their visions of a future where life feels, I don't know, automated, pre-packaged, kind of hollow. Well, they're starting to sound less like warnings and more like the 5 o'clock news.
And that really brings us to the core of what we're digging into today. We're going to try and peel back the layers here and ask, is the world we live in a deliberately designed system? And if it is, what's our role? Are we the ones using the system, or are we the ones being used by it? To really get this feeling, we've got to look at the blueprint. Because, this isn't some new idea that just popped up. There were philosophers way back in the middle of the 20th century who were already diagnosing the exact society we're living in right now. And their analysis? It's chillingly spot on. One of those philosophers, Herbert Marcuse, he gave this whole condition a name, the happy consciousness. It's a brilliant and, frankly, terrifying concept. It's a state where we don't just put up with the systems that control us, we actually start to identify with them. The system gives us just enough of what we think we need, the new phone, the next season of a show, to make our lack of real choice feel comfortable, maybe to the point where we don't even notice it's gone. And for Marcuse, the truly sneaky part is the role culture plays in all this. See, art and culture used to be the place for rebels and outcasts, the stuff that showed us there was another way to live. But today's mass culture? It's like a giant sponge. It just absorbs rebellion. It takes the revolutionary idea, the disruptive artist, and it turns them into a t-shirt, a product, a safe piece of entertainment. They're not fighting the system anymore. They're packaged and sold by the system. So that's the theory. But what if you could use technology not to control people, but to actually set them free? This question takes us from philosophy class to a moment in history that is so wild, it's hard to believe it actually happened. A real-world attempt to build a totally new kind of matrix. So, picture this. It's the early 1970s. In Chile, under Salvador Allende, a brilliant British thinker named Stafford Beer is invited to build a new operating system for the entire country. And his vision wasn't about top-down control. Not at all. It was the complete opposite. He wanted to use technology to empower people, to let them build their own society from the ground up. And this is where the story gets so interesting, because you have this huge clash. The vision for this thing, Project Cybersyn, was all about decentralized freedom, giving power and real-time information back to the workers. But the actual room they built to run it, whoa, it looked like it was ripped straight out of a James Bond villain's lair. It screamed centralized control. And that aesthetic, it pretty much doomed the project. Critics just pointed at it and called it a weapon of control. Now, at the very heart of Beer's work is this super powerful idea he called variety engineering. Okay, variety is basically just the total number of possible choices you have in any situation. And Beer's big insight was that every system we design, whether it's a government or a social media app, either amplifies our variety, giving us more freedom, or it attenuates it, cutting down our options to make us more manageable. Okay, so we've got these massive systems out there designed to either grow or shrink our choices. But that really begs the question, how much real choice do we have to begin with? How do we, the individuals, the so-called ghosts in the machine, even operate? To think about this, let's look at an ant colony. It's a perfect example of what's called a superorganism. In this case, the colony is the organism. The individual ant has no self-interest, no sense of me. Its entire life is a sacrifice for the collective, for the queen. Its will is completely absorbed by the needs of the whole. Now, that sounds totally alien to us, right? We're all about individualism. But maybe we're not as different as we think. This quote from neuroscientist Robert Sapolsky is a real bombshell. He argues that what we call free will might just be a nice-sounding name for all the biological machinery we haven't figured out yet. And there's some pretty startling evidence to back this up. Our so-called free choices are getting nudged around all the time by stuff we don't even see. For example, a judge's parole decisions can literally depend on how long it's been since their last lunch break. Our brains react differently to seeing someone of another race in milliseconds, way before we're consciously aware of it. Hormones are constantly drawing lines in our minds between us and them. See, these aren't just little biological quirks. They are the back doors. They're the levers that these constructed systems can pull to guide our behavior without us even realizing it. So, we've talked about the philosophy of a constructed reality. We've seen a real-life attempt to build a new one. And we've looked at the biological limits on our own free will. Now let's connect all those dots and look at the system we are all living in right now. Because this is where it all comes together. The controlling happy consciousness that Marcuse warned about, the real-time society-wide information network that Stafford Beer tried to build for freedom, all those dystopian sci-fi movies, they've all converged. And their child is the modern internet. With its algorithms, its big data, its constant connection, it's the most sophisticated system for managing human variety that has ever existed, period. And the thinker Terence McKenna took this whole idea to another level. He looked at the internet and didn't just see a bunch of computers. He saw something new emerging from it, a new kind of intelligence, an alien partner in our own evolution that we just never saw coming. So, if our reality is a construct, and we're living inside the most complex, most powerful one ever built, what does that mean for us? Where do we go from here? This brings us to a really fundamental choice that's right in front of us. And it really comes down to two paths, and we can use Stafford Beer's own language to describe them. On one side, we have variety attenuation. This is kind of the default path right now. We design systems to reduce our options, to make us more predictable, more stable, better consumers. It leads directly to that happy consciousness and that feeling of hollowness. But there's an alternative, variety amplification. We could design systems that do the exact opposite, that are built to increase human options, to promote real autonomy, and to create a richer, more creative human experience. And that leaves us with one last big thought. Our systems, our economy, our social networks, our governments, they aren't laws of nature. They're not like gravity. They're constructs. They were designed and built by people. So if we're all starting to become aware of the limitations of the system we're in now, doesn't that mean we can consciously design and build something better?